I was running down the street, sweating, shirtless. I felt like a wild fucking animal. And that was the worst night of my life on ayahuasca. My name is Noah Kagan. I'm the founder of AppSumo.com, eight-figure business, #1 site online for software deals. And today I'm going to share with you that experience. Especially right now, while things are so chaotic and out of control, people are looking for ways to not feel so sad about themselves, get control, and feel fulfilled. And so I'm going to share about one of my experiences with psychedelics and how it's helped me. Quick disclaimer, don't do drugs unless you really want to. But about 3 years ago, I was interacting and hanging out with my friend named Billy. And for the first time ever, Billy was actually in a good mood. And that's something that I wasn't really seeing out a lot of him. And I said, well, what's your secret? What have you actually been doing? He's like, ayahuasca. And I was like, ayahuasca, I think I've heard Aubrey Marcus talk about this. I think it's where you shit in buckets or even your pants and you're in Peru with these weird shamans and there might be music and I'm crying. Didn't sound like something I really wanted. And that's something that I've shared a lot about publicly where, I've been depressed, like everyone else. I'm a human. We go through these natural emotions. And so I tried a lot of different things 3 years ago when I wasn't feeling in a great spot. And so I tried therapy. I tried meditating. I tried levitating. I was journaling, walking, traveling, whatever I can do to fix these things. And one thing that I've realized and started just honing in lately is that we kind of have this triangle of life, right? And the triangle of life is your work, it's yourself, and it's your relationships. And what I've noticed now 3 years later and where I'm feeling so fulfilled and so called to be sharing messages like this and sharing messages about starting a business and marketing is if one of those pieces is a little bit off, it takes them all off. And so you might need to revisit it and figure out, okay, is there a way that I can start addressing these things? Or what is my heart saying that my head is disagreeing with? You know what I'm talking about. And that's something that I've definitely been struggling with even today. And it's hard to really say, okay, let me trust my gut and trust my intuition. So with the ayahuasca experience, I said, I'm called to this. There's something, I've tried all these different things. I've tried all the different avenues. Let me go to this other experience to access a different part of the brain to see if I can start addressing some of this. And so and you can go to okdork.com/ayahuasca to read the gritty details. But I want to share with you is that how can you take benefit from this today for yourself, whether you're willing to do ayahuasca or not. And that's totally up to you. I don't really care. But I want to share some of the things that I've learned from that that I hope help you in your experience. So with ayahuasca, so there's no real way to prepare for ayahuasca. And even the people who don't do it, I want you to get something out of this about how you can help yourself today. Because I think the biggest thing about ayahuasca, or frankly, any experience you're going to be doing is, how can I take from this and learn something and implement in my life so that forever it's a lot better? And for me, I prepared with ayahuasca, I watch videos, I talk to friends, and I've done other psychedelics in the past. Even recently, about a week ago, I tried some psilocybin, which is a fancy name for mushrooms. And, it was great. I spent the whole time alone on a couch sitting and just enjoying myself. And then an hour later, I was crying for an hour. And you're like, why is he sharing that? I don't know, it's just compelled to, and I feel like it helps you guys out there and it helps me kind of share this as well. But secondly, it kind of helps you process the different things that are going on that might be blocked in some capacity. And so through that experience, I was like, all right, I do actually like myself. I was like, man, I like this guy. And then I did like that I got a feel. And so with the ayahuasca experience, I talked to a lot of people, and there's some tips I can give you, but there's so many other videos about that you can get tips on for ayahuasca, I'm sure in the sidebar. But for me, planning for it, I talked to people, I read notes, I was nervous, really more than anything. I said, I really hope this can be this miracle. And I don't know, like a Tony Robbins thing, which I've talked about, or ayahuasca, which I've talked about, other ways of self-improvement. It's hard to put so much pressure on one thing to do so much. But I think the biggest thing is that if you're not where you're at, or you're feeling plateaued, or you're wondering hey, I don't know, is this all there is in life? It's time to do something about it. Not necessarily ayahuasca, but it could be anything. And so for me, I drove up the first day, and I remember just being so nervous. There was 5 of us in a car, and we had snacks, and you kind of, you don't bring Native American garbs, but you bring all these clothes, and you don't really know what to expect. And so kind of jump ahead of it is that one, you got whatever you're trying to fix, it's really helpful to go in with intentions. And so for me, with therapy specifically, I've gone to a lot of therapy over the years. I've found it helpful when I'm I have the specific problem I want to solve, but when I've just gone to say, hey, let's just see how this goes, it kind of almost creates a cycle where I have a problem to go solve. Does that make sense? And so in ayahuasca, I wanted to work on my work. I wanted to work on my relationship. Those were kind of the two pieces of things that I was curious to dive deeper on. And yeah, the first night, you basically walk into this room. Imagine, just close your eyes for a second. And don't even look at me, but it's a pitch dark room. And around is 12, it's a semicircle, 12 to 18 buckets. And toilet paper next to each bucket. And that's a pretty weird ass thing to see. And you kind of look in this room and you're like, okay, and then there's a center mantelpiece, and in that center mantelpiece, there's all these rocks and hippie woo-woo shit like that over there. And part of you just is this is the room, this is where all this stuff happens. But a few things that I really wanted to go into. So I set my intention before I went into that room. Secondly, I just had some mantras. That was something that someone said, and I really like this one, which is in and through. In and through. Second thing, or third thing that really helped me is like, what can I learn from what it's trying to show me? So if you do these psychedelics, and I used to really say it was a drug, and now I truly am like, yo, this is some medicine stuff. But what is this trying to teach me? And third, going into it, I think this is something years later now, that as I'm thinking about it, it's about breathing. And I remember being in it before it and after it, and even today, it's like, am I breathing? And I know that's such a stupid thing, and I hate when people say that. Why is that? It's so annoying, but it's like, and you move forward, and it's like, okay, maybe I can go into this and learn something through this. So, we come into the first night, and I've done acid before. I'm like, this ain't no thing. I gotta do this. Give me the quick help, and let's get it on, and let's go back to Netflix. And so, you lay down, and I think one of the things that's really interesting about this experience more than other ones is that it's the setting. Like if you do it at home, in the bathroom, I don't know what you do in the bathroom, but wherever you do it, and you just kind of do it, it creates a different vibe versus a shaman and two assistants, and they have drums, and it's dark, pitch dark, which I was fucking terrified of. And there's candles, and the candles go out, and then there's a fan, and you could hear it, and then there's people all around. It's the setting. So it's a huge difference with things about what you want to experience. And so it starts, first 45 minutes, nothing. I'm like, all right, this is cool, I'm down with that. And then 45 minutes in, I start just like losing it. I'm like, yo, what's going on? And I lost my mind. And you can't really describe it, but the best way I can describe it is like, you never watch Nintendo and it's pixels? Mine went into pixels. And so I got up from the room, and you're not supposed to leave the room. That's like the number one rule, is like stay on your mat. And that's actually another fascinating part of ayahuasca is it says like stay on your mat, don't touch anyone else, don't help anyone else. And I think we're really accustomed, depending on who you are, to go and touch someone else. And if someone's crying or someone needs something, to go do it. And it's an amazing experience because the real experience is on you. And the only work is on you. And the other people you meet there, they're there for some really interesting things too. I'm like, oh, I don't love my work as much as I can. They're like, well, I was raped, or I'm a drug addict. I was like, oh, okay. Doesn't mean that I should diminish my stuff, but interesting people you meet there. But my mind goes into pixel world, and I walk out, and they come and find me, and they're like, you got to come back. And I was like, ah, damn it, they found me. Then I go back out again though after I came back again the second time, and I was like, I thought they were trying to like do something to me, and I started blaming all of them. I said, fuck this shaman guy, fuck this other people that are there. I don't know where I am. I'm lost. And I started thinking about a friend who I think I knew where he lived. And so I took my clothes off, except my shorts, and I started running towards him. I left the compound, and I started running. But I can't see anything. Like these trees, all this stuff, is just a blur. And I see the Holocaust gates on my right, and I can't find the turn where I think I'm supposed to be going. And I remember just like leaning over. I was like this. And I remember leaning over like that and thinking like, no one is coming to save me. Like no one's coming to help me. And maybe with this whole coronavirus in the future, like no one's going to come to help you. And we could wait for it or blame for it, but what are you gonna go do about it? And I was like, all right, well, bent over, exhausted. I was tired. I'm like, what am I doing running? Like I felt like a wild animal. I thought of my father. He seemed so wild at times. And I was like, all right, well, no one's coming to save me. I've got to save myself. And some funny parts of the story, but I basically go back to the campground. I was like, let me try to find my way home. Go back into I go to try to get someone's attention, and I was like, maybe that's a bad idea. And because if a cop picked me up, can you imagine a cop picking me up? Yeah, I don't know where I am. I'm shirtless and in the middle of nowhere. I don't think that's going to end well. But I go back to finally end up making it back to the compound. I go into my room, and the shaman comes in. He's like, yo, what the fuck? Where you been? I was like, I don't know, dude. I don't like this. And he tried to calm me down. He tried to like do blow things. He put some magic juice on me. I'm like, yo, get your devil fucking horns off me. And then he's like, let's just get you in a shower. So I go out of the shower. I get butt naked. I get in the shower, and he sees me naked. He's like, oh my God, dude, what are you doing? We shower, not together. Of course he bathes me. No, shower, get out, try to calm down. He's like, dude, I got to go back, but man, just calm down. And so I calmed down. And I think what's interesting, just to highlight before I keep going forward, is that in all these experiences, no matter what experiences you're having, what experiences I'm having, you kind of think these people are drug addicts. You don't know who they are. You don't know their stories. That's something we never know in life. But I think we can learn from any experience. I don't know if it has to be the extreme of going and taking psychedelics to really do it. It could be just sitting. It could be writing. It could be helping someone. It could be doing nothing. It could be doing everything. But if you want to find something in yourself or learn something yourself, you got to challenge yourself, and then also listen to the calling of, okay, is there something here to learn from? And so while I'm sitting in that room, I was like, I heard singing. I don't know, I heard singing, a motherly like angel, and it called me, and I heard it, and I finally, like an hour later, I got up and I started following the singing, and then I went back into the room, and I started crying. Sat on the mat. You have to stay on your mat. Don't leave the mat except me. I fucking run away. And yeah, I cried. Cried a lot. I cried for like 2 hours there. And I felt so ashamed. I felt like I did something wrong. And I embarrassed them. I embarrassed myself. And I was blaming them. That was another kind of key thing. I'm like blaming, like, this shaman did this to me. Not my own responsibility. He did it to me. It's like, and so the crying, you know, I thought about a lot of different things that trigger the crying, about my stepfather, about my father, relationship, and the shame, just shame, about a lot of that. And so, you know, it was interesting, it was tough. And so at the end of the ceremony, they kind of do a little thing where they bless you and close off. It's like, all right, outies, and everyone gets their own. And I remember going up to the shaman, and I was just like, hey, I'm really sorry about what happened. I lost my mind. And the thing he said to me really stuck with me. He's like, and I think about this every single day, and I'll tell you one thing I've done that you should do, I recommend, that I've really liked. He's like, courage is being afraid and doing it anyways. That's courage. And he said, you ran away. We have psychos and weirdos all the time. You're one of them, that's normal. But the courage of coming back and facing it, even after you were afraid and after you were scared, it's courage. And that I'm proud of you. And that really stuck with me, you know. And so my buddy Adam Gilbert says with the Ayahuasca Experience, he says, maybe the psychedelics didn't show me anything I didn't know. Because I think there's some truth to that. Like, do we actually know all these answers inside, but this is fighting it, or not, or hiding it, or covering it, or distracting it? And he says, you know, maybe part of the whole experience for you with ayahuasca and all this other stuff is showing yourself that you can do it. Showing yourself that you can actually face some fucking hard, tough ass shit that you're maybe not ready for, maybe you didn't know you're ready for, but it realized like how much more that you are capable of handling. And a person I talked to said, I don't want to do ayahuasca. I don't want to do self-discovery. I don't want to try some of these things. And I don't care if anyone does it. That's not on me. But he's like, I don't lose my edge. And that got me kind of nervous. And I was like, well, I think through these things about why do you want to improve yourself? Why do we want to keep growing? And for me, it's like, wow, that makes me feel more sharper. And ultimately, I feel like it leaves a more fulfilled life if I can understand myself better, or at least use these experiences to help rationalize or justify. Like, I even had a weird connection about, I didn't like dogs because my dad died and he loved dogs. And so even understanding that, I was like, well, now I can love dogs again. And so it helped me expand to more things and open my life up to more enjoyment, more sadness, more challenges, and ultimately more fulfillment. And so that was towards the end of day one. And if you haven't heard ayahuasca music, I highly recommend it. I'll try to put some down in the description, or check it out, just search ayahuasca music. But I think what's really important about all this stuff is that no matter what you're facing in life, Aya is not the answer for you. It is a tool that can help you figure out an answer, but it's just one of them. And ultimately, a lot of the answers are inside of us. And so there's different ways of getting it, and different ways of maybe avoiding it, that we all use to distract ourselves from entertainment, to drugs, to people, to just going. And so I think just the time in that, and the thing about this is that, like, how much do you, me, sit in a weekend for 3 days, 8 hours a day, and just work on yourself? Name a time recently that's been there. Same, except something like that. And so I found like just creating, I hate when woo-woo people say space, but there's something there about like creating the space for you to think about yourself. And not only that, right? Like, so you're thinking about yourself, you're reflecting on yourself, you're having challenges and all this other stuff, but then you're coming and saying, well, how do I internalize that? And then how do I take that later in the day and actually discuss it in a group setting? And so, you know, one of the things with ayahuasca, and I think what I really like sharing is things that you can do actionally, whether you want to do anything or not. But I think one of the things was that after that moment of self-discovery, after that time of saying, like, let me work on myself for this period, it was making a checklist. And I've done 2 ceremonies. So Ayahuasca is weird. They do ceremonies, which is 1 to 7 days in a row. And I remember after the first day of this, I was like, we have to do it tomorrow? Because it basically starts at 6 p.m., sundown, goes to like 5 a.m., then you sleep till noon, lunch, and then you start again 3 days in a row. And I've done that twice. That was fucking bonkers. But I think one of the biggest things that I really liked was making a list and implementing it afterwards. And it depends on who you go with. I've seen people go and they're like, I have to have intentions, and like business people are like, I need lists and I need action items, I need results immediately. And I'm like that too. I can't deny it. But I think there's other people like, one of my best nights in the future of an Ayahuasca experience was just like, I'm just not going to write anything down, and I'm just going to let go. And I could talk a little bit about that experience. But I think the big thing is, from whatever experience you're having in any parts of your life, document it, write it down, put it in your calendar, and then check back on it. Some of them for me, let me pull it up. It's funny to re-look through some of my notes. So I have my checklist, I'm looking it up. Some of my notes were do more manly things. So take a survival class, which I did with Tim Kennedy. Sheepdogresponse.com, highly recommend. Make a sword. I built a bench. Read books about relationships. So I picked some of that, like Attached, Wired for Love, Getting the Love You Want. Give Dean more ownership to OK Dork. This is in the past, but it was basically about the people I work with and things that I want to do. And do a bike ride, the sumoride.com. We did it with some Mac Miller quotes. And I really do think it's like, if you go and learn something and you don't implement it, I don't know, did you really learn it? I kind of think that with a great book. Like, a great book to me is one that I've read and it's impacted my life moving forward, not just like, did it do something in that one moment in time. And so I do think checklists and put them in calendar and reviewing them, and potentially have an accountability group. I know with the guys I've gone with, we check back with each other to say, hey, did you do that thing you said you're going to do? If not, let's support you in getting that done. So, I mean, I could talk about, I've done a bunch of other times, and I'm trying a lot of other things to explore myself and share these learnings with you to hopefully they help you. But overall, day 2, I was scared. Day 3, it was back to being amazing. And definitely have some weird connections. Like, I never called my stepdad dad until something like this. And so I do wonder if I would have been able to get these insights or realizations in other ways, and I'm not really sure. Is IO right for everyone out there? That's for each person to decide. I asked the shaman that. I was like, should I be telling anyone to go do it? He's like, no. When they're called, they'll go do it. And that's obviously an extreme. And a lot of times you can actually get it done in the States. So a lot of people have said, hey, did you go to these South American countries? No. I was able to do it in the States, and I'm not going to say where, but you can find it in the States if you really want it. But the point being is, I don't even know if you need to go and do that. Like, a lot of people get results in many other ways. But I hope I've shared a few different ideas that maybe spark some thoughts about notes, time for yourself, reflecting on things you're learning, trying out something new, challenging yourself. And I hope it helps you live a more fulfilled life. I love you.